The recession is forcing a lot of companies to look at their business models and really throw out the old rule books. And hiring is no different. Hiring has been one of the biggest challenges that businesses, especially in India, have been facing for years. And the recession has sort of thrown hiring managers and the founders and CEOs into a bit of a quandary. Do we hire more during a recession? Do we hire less? What should be a go-to-market motion for hiring? Let's close the loop on that one. Joining me today is Aadil Bandukwala, the Senior Director Marketing at HackerRank. And apart from his day job, Aadil is also one of the most influential HR voices in the community. Aadil, welcome to Close the Loop.
Thank you.
And if I'm not wrong, you were one of ETHR's most influential HR voices for 3 years running?
Yes.
Well, congratulations on that. So Aadil, let me off the bat ask you. So we are living in difficult recessionary times. And a lot of functions are undergoing changes. Hiring, I feel, is a bit confusing now to companies. Like they don't know whether they should conserve cash and hire less, or spend more and hire more because talent is now available and people are a little bit more flexible. What are some of the trends that you're seeing in the market?
So thank you for having me on the show. Very happy to be here. I think this is different for every company. It matters where you're based, it matters what segment you're going after, it matters on the size of your base, it matters under what margins you're operating. I'm saying it depends because let me zoom out and give you a bit of a macro view.
Yeah.
So if you look at the macro view, especially after what's happened in the last 3 years, based on the current macroeconomic factors, McKinsey has played out 9 potential scenarios that we could potentially go into, which is this year and beyond. 6 of those are dark gray, meaning we can potentially go into a deep recession of sorts, which is going to take a long time to recover. But luckily, there are 4 scenarios that are in the blue, which means they are mild or recovery might be potentially quickly.
Okay.
So let's aim for these 4. And potentially, what I'm hearing on the street when I interact with people, both in San Francisco, as well as in Namma Bengaluru, as well as in certain markets of APAC, is that potentially by Q4 this year, there will be a lot of recovery. So let's aim for those blues. So that's corollary number 1. Number 2 is that if you look at what's happening in most companies, revenues are rising in spite of people saying the economy is bad.
Right.
In spite of people are saying, people are getting fired. Revenues are rising, but earnings are taking a dip.
Right.
Which means there's pressure on margins.
Correct.
That tells us that we need to do more with less.
And companies seem to be solving for that by laying people off, which seems to be very
because
short-sighted.
how do you cut costs in companies? 1, you're going to take talent off the table.
Right.
2, you're going to bring down cloud costs. 3, you're going to optimize on infrastructure.
Correct.
They are the main costs in a particular company. The third thing I'm sure you also observed is winter funding is here. Right?
Yes.
As in
there is no funding. Yeah.
It's not happening. All 3 capital markets in India, which is Delhi, Bombay, and Bangalore, are seeing constrained supply of money coming in.
Yeah.
On the 4th side, if you look at money markets, every crypto bro that was flying private jets can't even go into economy right now.
Maybe rickshaw.
Yeah. So they can't even afford an economy ticket. At the same time, all of us who are trading in the local equity markets or put in a lot of money in the SaaS companies in the US, they're seeing that all of them have taken a beat by 30%, 40%.
Right.
Therefore, we're seeing short-term cash flow issues where, like you say, blue pill or red pill, currently all of us have swallowed the red pill.
Yes.
And we're unable to stomach that. So recovery is going to take longer, is what we're seeing.
So does this mean one hires more or less?
Correct. So now coming to that, I often ask my talent acquisition and CHRO counterparts, what's stopping you from hiring?
Yeah.
Why don't you actually go ahead and hire?
But isn't that happening now?
They are expensive. Just yesterday, I met someone over breakfast. This is a developer with 8 years of experience. They're offering 1.7 crores.
Okay. Wow.
Phenomenal sum of money.
Wow.
Yet, this guy is like, meh.
I think, Aadil, I want to be a developer. I'm going to call it out right now. I want to be a developer right now.
So, and I want to tell you why I'm bringing in this conversation. I'm bringing in this conversation because today there are 60 million developers in the world. Right? In the next 3 years, this demographic is going to grow to 100 million. There's no way it's growing beyond 100 million.
Right.
Supply will be 100 million. Demand is going to be 200 million. There's going to be a huge white space of 100 million. So if you think developers are going to get cheaper,
no. In a way, you're talking about, if you want to hire fast, because you don't expect that things are going to get cheaper down the line. They'll get more expensive. So in any go-to-market motion, you have the hunting and the farming, right?
Yes.
So the new client acquisition and growing the existing clients. So think of your employees as your clients if you're in the hiring space. So we spoke about getting new people in. But is there also a market, and this is like a non-hiring hiring, right? Where you take existing employees and you get them to do more and cross-pollinate them into other functions. Are you seeing that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like the most valued companies today are SaaS companies.
Yes.
And why? Because of this beautiful metric called ARR.
Correct.
Right? And ARR is gold. And if you think about best-in-class SaaS companies, right? 40% of their ARR comes from existing customers.
Right.
What that tells us is that we need to focus on our employee base.
Yeah.
Right? And keep them happy. Because if they're happy, it's far easier getting productivity out of them than acquiring someone new, onboarding them, getting them fully ramped up, and then shipping through them.
Right.
So imagine this. What if you had a skill inventory dashboard in your enterprise?
Yes.
Where you're saying, okay, I have front-end skills, I have back-end skills, X volume, I have full stack skills, Z volume, I have data sciences, I have cloud, I have DevOps, and then I have data security, right? Therefore, each organization, I think, needs to have a skill inventory dashboard. Correct. Where they're saying, okay, X amount of front-end guys are coming. They're going to be in this role for about 1 year. Within a year, as they're doing their job, I need to upskill them. So if you go in these two directions and have a live dashboard where you can say, okay, these are timelines, then your HR is actually talking the business language. Correct. Where they are truly aligning with your CRO and saying, this is how I can move profitability for you.
Correct.
This is how I can impact the revenue funnel for you.
But I think honestly, Aadil, ye sab, we've gone through growth phases and we've gone through recessionary phases. It's always the recessionary phase that makes you more creative. Yeah. when it comes to thinking.
People always operate better under constraints.
Yeah.
Like think about what happened to the story of WhatsApp, right? Brian Acton. Yeah. Brian Acton interviewed at Facebook. He was rejected.
Right.
He interviewed at Twitter. He was rejected. He interviewed with 7 or 8, I think, of Silicon Valley's most amazing companies or most happening startups at that point in time.
Right.
He got rejected every single place. He didn't know what to do. He built WhatsApp and then he sold it to the same company that rejected him for $19 billion. Now, in our HR world, there is this metric that people talk about a lot called cost per hire.
Yes.
Imagine what the cost per hire was for WhatsApp. WhatsApp was 52 people when it sold for $19 billion. Correct. They literally paid $500 million.
Yeah, they could have hired Brian for $500,000.
Yeah.
In the first.
$500 million per hire.
Yeah. But there's also a third dimension to this GTM. So we talk about the new hires, then we talk about the internal hires. The third part is this whole gig economy thing, which also flourished, grew during the COVID time, and also seems to be growing fairly steady now. Yeah. Because there's this thing about gig workers, and I think there's like a mental block that people have. Okay, unless you're a full-time employee, I'm not going to get anything out of you. So is that also changing now?
Well, that's completely changing. I think like this whole world of work contract will go through phenomenal changes over the next couple of decades.
Right.
But now, even today, like a significant portion of my team's work happens through a site called Fiverr.com.
Fiverr, yeah.
Happens through Upwork.com. We have an enterprise license with Upwork.
Yeah.
A lot of the skills that we don't have, we just outsource it on Upwork.
Yeah.
And over a period of time, I think it is as beautiful as the employee relationship.
Right.
When I was at LinkedIn, they taught me this. They said relationships matter.
Correct.
Whoever you meet, if you have a relationship, stuff can happen because of a phone call.
Right.
You and me are talking today because you WhatsApped me. I said, okay, I'll come, and we're doing this. Yes. Right? Like we're meeting for the first time in life.
First time, actually.
Right?
Yes.
So I think if you focus on building relationships at every level, I think your work contract should not define your relationship. My relationship with you will be better if you're permanent versus contract.
Right.
I think it's just about outcome.
Correct.
And so long as you appreciate me and I appreciate you, magic will happen.
So the other thing about a successful GTM, we spoke about getting new clients and retaining and growing existing. So in the frame of employees, right? So one of the things that works is with clients is that you build a good relationship and you build a good brand with them. So the employer brand is also extremely important to build when you're hiring and when you're retaining. What is your view? And we've spoken about like pay is a very big
Yeah.
part of the
Yeah.
package that you give,
Yeah.
but benefits are also a very big part of
Yes.
the package. So are you seeing some tectonic shifts on the whole benefits game?
Oh yeah,
Companies
for sure, for sure. I think like at the macro level, I see like benefits earlier were generic. Everybody would get the same plan.
Right.
I think uska time ho gaya hai.
Right.
Like benefits have to be personalized down to the wire to every employee. Like what might make you happy might not make me happy.
Correct.
So I think one, personalization of benefits is like going to change the game
Right,
first. Two, pay is a given. And I think what is also going to happen is people's choice of working in different cities or different countries is changing. Today's generation, Gen Z, is not going to be restricted to a particular geo.
Correct.
They're going to want to go to different time zones and different countries and experience life. And you have to be open for that.
Yeah.
The third thing is very relevant to your business.
Right.
How do you keep people happy? And how do you keep people's attention at work? The secret of a happy work life is a happy family life.
Very true.
If everything is sorted at home, I will devote my 100% here.
Correct.
Like in the last 3 years, unfortunately, my dad has gone through 3 procedures. So every time going to a hospital can be daunting when your parents are senior citizens.
Correct.
But I have it safe on my head, saying that, Arey, whatever the cost, it's taken care of.
Correct.
So at least
My
the
employer is there with me.
Yeah,
He's got my back.
My financial burden is not there with me, right?
And I think you were mentioning about having the dashboard of skills.
Yes.
I think it's really important for companies to have a dashboard of health.
100%.
Right. You need to know
100%.
if, this is not to target anyone. It's actually to help identify and help, because with benefits, what's happening is, like you said, everyone gets the same thing, which used to be just insurance, right? But now I think the trend we are seeing is that employers are willing to offer more in terms of preventive healthcare services, in terms of consults, in terms of proactive testing, which might actually prevent the hospitalization, not just for the employee, but also the family. But the next frontier for HR leaders is, how do we go even beyond the employee to sort of touch their family?
I 100% agree with that, because when I was moving on from LinkedIn in 2015, and I went and told my wife, saying that, hey, you know what, I have this offer from Belong, which is a startup. It's run by a bunch of kids, but I think they might just change the world. And my heart's all there. I want to go do this.
Yeah.
So first I want your buy-in, because I'm going to be a lot more out of the house than in the house.
Right.
So it's important to secure buy-in, saying that, we have 2 kids. You're going to be running show in the house. I'm going to be out. But I think like it'll make me tremendously happy at work.
Yes.
So what do you think? The first question she asked was, do you really want to quit LinkedIn? They take such good care of us, not you.
Not you, exactly. Yeah.
Everybody knew her by name at LinkedIn. LinkedIn was a dream employer to work with, and it was very early in the journey. So that kind of stuck with me when she said, do you really want to leave LinkedIn? It was a hard decision, but you kind of want to move on in life, and I did. But that stuck with me.
Yeah. And
so
that's
I
gold,
think that
right?
whole us thing matters.
Absolutely.
Matters a lot.
So Aadil, coming back to where we started, I think if the game has to change, when it comes to hiring, it looks like it has to change really quickly. What are the top 3 things that hiring managers and talent acquisition specialists should keep in mind to sort of get their hiring strategy and the GTM right during recession?
First, hire for skills. Very simple. There's no needed looking at anything else.
Right.
Like if I am hiring for, let's say, a marketer, then I need to really look at whether they have the hard skills that are absolutely fundamentally needed for the job. Second thing is, are people coachable, bendable, flexible? I've often found that people who are not very coachable, bendable, flexible will give you a hard time in life.
Correct.
Because they'll want to go their own way. And I think like, for me, company comes above and beyond everything else.
Right.
This is not Aadil's individual career.
Absolutely.
It is like a whole company's motion. Therefore, I feel that flexibility is like super bendable. I think somebody said this, and I don't remember where I hear it. I think ability without dependability, flexibility, and reliability is a liability. But third thing is, I'd like to quote Jeff Weiner. Somebody asked him, like, what do you look for in people when you hire? He said only 3 things. 1, think big. 2, get shit done. 3, know how to have fun.
Yeah, and speaking of having fun, I think having you on this show was great fun. I think a lot of your views really resonated. I hope they resonate with our audience as well. Thank you for being on Close the Loop.
No, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.